Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining. I am your host, Shamika Willis, also known as Lady Queen I Am. And unfortunately, because of the device I'm coming from, I cannot share to all my social media sites and the groups and platforms I'm a part of. So do me a favor, press the heart button and then press the share button. Let's get this message out. I do need your help. So press the heart, press the share button. Our topic today is when trouble surrounds you. Now, either you're in a storm, you just came out of a storm, or you might be going into a storm, or someone you know is in a storm. So we definitely want to share this. And I believe Les Brown had said that. But to make sure that we get this word out, we get this message out. So replayers, thank you so much for replaying. If you want to, you can fast forward about 30 seconds really quick as I welcome in some live players that might come in. Hopefully, I can even see them. But that's what we're going to talk about. This is kingdom motivation to help you apply kingdom principles to your life. And one thing I told you is every time I speak to you about stuff is because I've been through it or I'm going through it, stuff like that. Well, not all the time I'm going through it because sometimes you gotta wait for a little minute and learn the lesson. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I've been studying recently the life of Moses because whenever I begin this journey, one thing I like God would give me dreams, and it was very similar to some things that had happened to Moses. So I started studying the life of Moses, and really researching into the life of Moses. What I found out is through extra biblical research, what I found out is Moses actually spent 10 years in prison. And sometimes we go through things in life and we feel like, what, is my life going to amount to anything? I want you to think about it. Moses started off with his life almost being taken from him, but because of the wisdom that God had given his mother and his sister, they put him in the bushel, and the Pharaoh's daughter ended up finding him, and then what I realized is they, like, people called him all kind of names. Like his sister called him Jared because she said, like, because she helped him survive what he went through. His mother called him something else. His father called him something else. It was over 8 different names. But what I realized is a lot of times you will be known by what you're delivered from. And not all I mean, sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it isn't, because people try to hold what you've done in your life over your head. But the reason why he was called Moses was because Pharaoh's daughter drew him out of the water. That was his name. It was what he was delivered from. So Pharaoh's daughter called him Moses, and that's what we know him as, Moses. And but a lot of times in our lives, we'll be known for what we're delivered from. For example, whenever I began and I would hear this from different people. That's Lady Queen I Am. The lady that talks about she has like 5 kids. She's been divorced and making it through it. Like you end up being known from what you're delivered from. And so I noticed that with Moses also. But Moses had been in prison for 10 years, and I want you to think about that. Now, in those times, whenever they imprison you, they did not feed you, they did not bring you water. But see, God had already put it on Ziporah, and we know her as Moses' wife. Well, this is the backstory to it, right? This is the backstory to Moses' wife. And so when King Ruel threw Moses in jail, Moses was in there for 10 years. But during that 10-year period, Zipporah, the king's daughter, would go and feed Moses bread and water. And so when the 10-year mark came, she went to her father and she said, look, she said, no one ever asked about the man, that the Hebrew that was imprisoned, and then so the king is like, well, if he survived this, you know, we'll let him out. And she was like, well, you never know, because he serves the God, of Israel. He serves the God of Israel. And a lot of things have happened, where that the God of Israel began to save his people. And so They go down there, they send somebody down there, and of course Moses is standing on his feet because Zipporah had been feeding him all of this time. And so he survived that 10-year imprisonment. I want you to think about that, going through almost losing his life in the beginning, and God had a great purpose and a plan. He spends 10 years in prison. He spent 10 years in prison, but survives the 10 years in prison. Survives that 10 years in prison because he was called to do a great and mighty work of God. He was called to do something great and mighty, and he was going to be used by God to deliver a people. But what I realized is, because we all know the story about the plagues and what Moses when he went to Pharaoh and the 10 plagues that happened. And, at the end, Pharaoh ends up releasing God's people, but he ends up changing his mind after he released them. And so he sends people after him. Now, come to find out, when he sends the people after him, that's over 10,000. It's an army of over 10,000 people, right? It's an army of over 10,000 people that he sends after Moses. That's what he does. It's over 10,000 people that he sends after Moses. And what I realized is, when I was reading this thing, they get up to the Red Sea, right? They get up to the Red Sea. And once the children of Israel get up to the Red Sea, what I discover in the book of Jasper is, it says that the children of Israel were divided in 4 different ways, okay? 4 different ways whenever they come up to the Red Sea. And I want you to think about this internally. Like, I know we're talking about people and different individual people right now, but think about this internally. They were divided 4 different ways. It says 4 divisions divided into 4 opinions. That's what it says. 4 divisions divided into 4 opinions. Have you ever felt like there were a bunch of opinions inside of you, and you were faced with some trouble, right? Because you felt like trouble was chasing you, right? So you were faced with trouble was chasing you. But it said they were divided 4 different ways with 4 different opinions. The first one was the ways they were divided. They were divided basically in groups. Reuben, Simeon, the children of Reuben, Simeon, and Issachar, they were like, maybe we should cast ourselves into the sea. Like, maybe we should just, like, because we ain't going back to bondage, right? We're not going back to bondage. So maybe we should just cast ourselves into the sea. Meaning, I'll do whatever it takes to stay out of bondage. And Moses tells the children of Reuben, Simeon, and Issachar, sit still, stand still, and see the Lord deliver you. Now, the next division was the children of Benjamin, Zibion, and Napor. They said, maybe we should go back to Egypt, because they were afraid. They were afraid. And Moses always tells them, he told the first one, fear not, stand still, and see God deliver you. See the salvation of the Lord. Now, Benjamin, Zebulun, and Naphtali they said, well, maybe we should go back to Egypt, because they're like, you know what? Maybe we did the wrong thing. Maybe we did. Have you ever felt like that? Like, first you're like, you know what? I ain't going back to bondage. I'll kill myself before it happens. Not literally, but I ain't going back to bondage. Well, they were like, well, maybe we should go back to bondage, because rather than us get killed by them, maybe we should just surrender to it. Maybe we should just go back to bondage. Moses tells them, fear not. What you see now, you will not see anymore. That's what Moses tells them, right? Okay, that's 2 divisions we've heard of, 2 opinions. The third opinion, the third division, is the children of Judah and Joseph. Now, it says their opinion was, maybe we should meet with the Egyptians. No, let's go meet with the Egyptians, because we going to war. We're going to fight this. We going to fight this. That's what that's what the division of Judah and Joseph said. Now I find that funny. I said, a dreamer and a praiser. You're like, what? I had these dreams. I'm gonna praise my way out of it. I'm ready to go to war about this. And then Moses tells them, "Fear not, for the Lord will fight for you." Then the last division, which is the last opinion, is of the children of Levi, Gad, and Asher. And what they said is, let's go into the midst and confound them. Let's convince them, right? Let's confound them. And Moses tells them, fear not, God will deliver them into your hand. Now, I want you to think about that. That's how we are sometimes. We have four opinions inside of us. As you heard, one opinion said, let's throw ourselves into the sea. The next opinion said, well, let's maybe go back to Egypt. The next opinion, the next opinion Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much. My device is a little different, but it's a little hard to see comments. But thank you so much for joining me. I do appreciate it. If you could share to your social media sites, I appreciate that. But that's what it was. They were divided four ways. They were, and a lot of times we have four different opinions inside of us. Like, God, what should I do when I'm faced with trouble ahead of me? I don't know how I'm across this Red Sea. I don't know how I'm across this, because in man's eye, it's impossible. But yet I also have trouble running behind me. What do I do? What do I do about that, right? What do I do about that? And so one opinion was throw ourselves into the sea because we ain't going back to bondage. Another opinion was, you know what, let's go back to bondage because maybe this wasn't worth it. Maybe it was too big of a risk. The third opinion was, you know what, let's go to war with this. You know what, I'm not giving up. Let's go to war. And then the last opinion of the children of Israel at the time was, you know what, let's go convince them that, to continue to let us go. Let's go convince them. And a lot of times we fight with these type of opinions inside of us. But as Moses told each division, as Moses told each group of children of Israel, fear not, for God will fight for you, for God will deliver them into your hand. Stand still and know the salvation of the Lord. He told them these things, but the main thing that he told each group was fear not. So whenever you're going through something, you feel like trouble's on every hand, trouble's all around you, and you're not sure what to do, fear not, as Moses said. Fear not. And that could be hard to do sometimes. That could be, hard to be able to do. But one thing I realize is with Moses, even when after Moses talked to the children of Israel, and then he begins to pray to God, right? And we do that sometimes too. We begin to pray to God when we're troubled and we're trying to get our mind right because trouble is ahead of us, trouble is coming up behind us. We feel like we're surrounded, you know. And it said Moses began to pray to God. Well, I loved what God said after that, and this is from the Apocrypha of the book of Jasher, and this is through studying this because also in the book of Joshua and I believe First Samuel, it refers to the book of Jasper. So definitely do extra biblical research because you learn a lot of backstory, you learn a lot of things that are going on. But one thing that blew my mind when Moses began to pray to God about the trouble that he saw in his life, right? The trouble that was in front of him, the trouble that was behind him, the fact that he's like, God, I brought these people out of Israel, out of Egypt, the children of Israel out of Egypt. What do I do? What do I do? And he's praying. Well, then God says, why dost thou cry to me? But speak to the children of Israel that they shall proceed. And he tells Moses, stretch your rod. Now, understand this rod he had got that was actually right after he got out of prison, and he was in the garden of the person that actually held him captive, the King Ruel. and he was in the garden, and it had a blue sapphire on it. And come to find out, this sapphire, this rod, was actually passed out from generation to generation, from from Jacob, well, actually from Noah, and then and then just going down the line, it was passed to the children of Israel. And many people had tried to take it out of the ground before, but could not get it out of the ground. And then Moses came, and after coming out, and that's why King Ruel realized that he was a chosen person, and because he was able to do that, he gave him his daughter Ziporah, and that's where him and Ziporah end up marrying. But realizing, he told him, look, you see that, what do you have in your hand? Stretch it out. And it said the waters were divided in 12 ways. Now we know that God has always told us he will give us a way of escape. And sometimes it's what we have in our hand that helps us get the way of escape. And but what blew my mind is God was like, look, I'm gonna make sure you get through, because understand there was a lot of children of Israel that had to pass through the Red Sea. And of course, as soon as they got through, then God allowed the waters to go back together, where it killed the Egyptians that were after them, because it was over 10,000. Like I told you, over 10,000 after them. So I want you to realize that in your life, God will always give you a way of escape whenever you feel like whenever you feel like you're surrounded, whenever you feel like you're surrounded by trouble in front of you, trouble on, behind you, and you feel like you have the weight of the world on your shoulder, because you're trying to even get past some things. Um, Realize that just like Moses told those four divisions of the children of Israel, fear not. Watch the salvation of the Lord. Fear not. Watch the Lord deliver them into your hand. Fear not. Stand still and know that He is God. Fear not. You will not see them anymore. Remember that. Remember what God told Moses, and apply it to your life. I thank you so much for joining me. Remember, if you change your mind, you'll change your life. So if you change the way that you think, your life will forever change. But you are your only limitation. You are the only one that limits you. No one can stop you. No one has even seen what you're capable of, the greatness that you're capable of, because of God that lives inside of you and you inside of Him. So continue to work, continue to move. I thank those, before I go, I want to make sure I thank a couple of my sister queens that check up, say, hey sis, I ain't seen your lives in a while. You still go live, and what's up? You okay? And let me check on you. Precious, Courtney, um, all my sister queens that are always checking up on me. Queen Margaret, I always make sure that she sends me a message saying, keep pushing, sis. I thank you guys so much. It does mean, words can't even express what it means. Um, it means a lot to me, and it lets me know that even if it is just one soul, that is motivated to be a better person, motivated to work and live as a kingdom person, then I'm doing the job God has called me to. So, but share this to every group you are a part of, every page you're a part of, even your page. So share it to any platform you're a part of. I do thank you guys. Remember, I am queen. I am Lady Queen. I am. Change your mind, you'll change your life. So change the way that you think, so your life will forever change, but no longer be a limitation. No longer be your own limitation. No longer. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.